how artificial intelligence is powering a shocking matrimonial scam that is creating fake brides and, of course, real victims. The setup has been busted in Jhansi. We'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned. And a Bengaluru student's death that has once again reignited questions over discipline, over children's mental health. A classroom tragedy that every parent and every teacher should hear about. From the petrol pump to your phone to the classroom, 3 stories raising serious questions. You're watching In Your Interest with me, Kabir Naqvi. First, the top headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives in New Zealand for the last leg of his visit on his 3-nation tour. This is the first Indian prime ministerial visit to New Zealand in about 4 decades. The Assam government tightens rules on polygamy, proposes state budget dismissing government employees found guilty of practicing the same. A major setback for actor Rajpal Yadav as the Delhi High Court upholds Yadav's 3-month jail term in check bounce case. The court calls Yadav's conduct as quote-unquote dubious. The doctor assault case, Shiv Sena corporator Ramesh Matre sent to 13-day police custody. Matre was produced before the Kalyan court in the case of assaulting doctors in Dombivli. Yesterday, the doctors had said he was suffering from a major brain stroke and could not appear physically. Well, that has changed. Well, there are only 2 20s that the entire nation is talking about. One is, of course, the T20 after the World Cup, the debacle in terms of performance and the IPL pressure that our batsmen and the bowlers are facing alike. And the other one is E20. We're talking about a fuel that almost every petrol vehicle owner in India uses, but very few fully understand. The government's ethanol blending program was launched with a clear objective: to reduce India's dependence on imported crude oil, save foreign exchange, support farmers, make India more energy secure. And with the West Asian war and the last 3-4 months, that became a prime concern. But on paper, it seems to be a success. India achieved 20% ethanol blending years ahead of its original target. All of those aspects taken to be looked at. But away from the policy papers, another story is unfolding. Across the country, motorists are complaining about lower mileage. Owners of older vehicles are worried about long-term compatibility. Many are asking a simple question: if E20 delivers less mileage, why are consumers paying almost the same price? And perhaps the biggest question of it all, why is there no choice for the consumers at the petrol pumps? Because unlike countries like Brazil, Germany, or even the United States, India rolled out E20 as the default petrol for pretty much everyone. There was no option of choosing a lower ethanol blend, even though millions of pre-2023 vehicles are still there on the road plying. Now, after months of complaints, the government itself is reportedly considering allowing regular petrol to return alongside E20. Another one of those question marks. And if that happens, it raises uncomfortable questions. Was the rollout too ambitious? Was there a problem? Did policy move faster than consumer preparedness? Like we mentioned, all of those pre-2023 cars still on the road. Could India have followed Brazil's gradual, choice-based model instead of a one-size-fits-all approach that has brought us to this position? And then comes the politics. The opposition says consumers were forced into an experiment. The government says the science is settled and the long-term benefits are undeniable. The matter has now even reached the Supreme Court. There's a PIL that's been submitted where a petitioner seeks consumer choice, better labeling and safeguards for the owners of these older vehicles. So tonight, this is not just a debate about whether ethanol is good or bad. It's a debate about policy. It's a debate about preparedness and whether the public has a choice or not. Did India get the transition right, or is it now preparing to course correct? Let's open up this debate. First and foremost, joining me here in the studio is Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. The man needs no introduction. Many thanks, Tehseen, for taking out the time. The government says that E20 has helped reduce this crude import bill. It has saved foreign exchange. Look at the atmosphere, so much of carbon dioxide emissions that have gone down. But now we're learning of this one shoe-size-fits-all approach taking a little bit of a rollback. Why do you think this is happening? Do you believe the policy went wrong somewhere? The preparedness wasn't on the paper? The opposition, with Arvind Kejriwal's letter and the Youth Congress protesting yesterday and today as well, do you think these are pressure points?
Mine was the first protest. Mine was the first protest on the ground.
Yours was the first protest. What's your assessment here with the rollback particularly?
So thank you so much for having me on the show. Before we get to the rollback, let's understand something step by step. The Niti Aayog report very clearly says that ethanol 20 should be introduced in 2030. Now, I want to tell you viewers that we are not against ethanol 20. We say have it. But what we want is a choice for customers. We'll come to that. The reason the Niti Aayog report said introduce ethanol 20 blended fuel by 2030 so that all the vehicles that will get phased out which are ethanol 10 compliant. That was the same in the AREI report and the CIM report. None of these reports are kept public for you to read and I to read. This program was preponed and in 2023 it was launched, in 2025 mandatory ethanol 20 petrol. Number two, very simple question. If vehicles that were ethanol 10 compliant can take ethanol 20 petrol, why did the vehicle companies upgrade and ask for certification? And if they can't, why aren't you giving them a choice? 80% of the vehicles even today on the road are pre-2023 and are ethanol 10 compliant. You are now forcefully putting ethanol 20 petrol in them, whereas these own vehicle companies' instruction manuals say and user manuals say absolutely you cannot put on any fuel more than ethanol 10. So all that Team Bharat, my team, is asking for is ethanol 0 at a much reduced rate, which is currently about 165 to 170 at select pumps, which is petrol without ethanol 10 for ethanol 10 compliant vehicles, and ethanol 20. No further rollout of any program without a 360-degree infrastructure. Lastly, all documents regarding ethanol 20 blending program in public domain. Why isn't it in public domain? Why can't you read it? Why can't your viewers read it? We are in a democracy.
No, you're absolutely right. And then those allegations come across that the transport minister is trying to enrich his own particular setup at play. There is a lot of hue and cry with the kind of mixed rationing is done. See, Brazil, it has ample amount of sugarcane to do this. It has ample imports and exports of sugarcane to take care of this. But over here, the system and the picture is a little bit different. So this constant comparison with Brazil is also not correct, isn't it?
Let's go to Brazil. Brazil and the United States started a program in the 1970s. Brazil gives you a choice, ethanol 10, pure petrol, ethanol 27, and so on and so forth. A program started in the 70s. All documents of Brazil and US regarding this program are in public domain. You're free to Google it right now. These are not choices here. We don't have ethanol 10. Ethanol 20 does not go with 80% of the vehicles, and ethanol 0 is very expensive. So choice. Number two, you rightly hit the nail on the sugarcane part. Have we thought about food security? Allow me to give you two examples. You know, India has a surplus corn production, and a byproduct of corn is DDGS. It is used as poultry feed, it is used as livestock feed, Pashuo ka ahar. India had so much surplus production that India used to export it. When the US-India trade deal got done on 6th February, the White House press release came out in which it said India will import DDGS, the corn byproduct from US. Obviously, we were stunned because the US corn is banned in India because it is GMO, genetically modified. On 7th February, Piyush Goyalji does a press conference, News9 covered it. He says the reason we have to import the poultry feed and other livestock feed into India, this is DDGS, is because we have a shortage. The question was something that we had a surplus of and we were exporting. Why are we now importing it? The reason is 45% of our corn is today diverted to ethanol. As a result of it, something that you used to earn dollars, you're now spending dollars to get. Let me give you another example and your viewers will be stunned. And I would like you to fact check me on this. Do you know that India is even importing ethanol from the United States of America?
That's right.
31 million liters in 1 month of November.
The government says that's for industrial use, however.
I agree, but it's not separate ethanol. Therefore, why isn't the ethanol in India not used for government, for industrial use, and you use it rather than compulsorily putting it in a vehicle? So explain to me. You're using ethanol to save your forex reserves, but you're using your forex reserve to import the same ethanol for industrial use.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
And also just a mad, because you are amazing at this, and I understand, I respect you as a journalist. India's crude, petrol is just 20%. So 20% of 20% is what you want to save. And for that you've done all this halla. Have you even done the maths? Have you even done the maths? And then what about the rice? The second issue you raise is the pollution, which is the government says is the favorite issue. Do you know ethanol through sugarcane takes between 2,600 to 3,500 liters of water for 1 liter of ethanol?
So a lot of irrigation that's being, used in the other direction.
That's true.
So in terms of reducing carbon dioxide emissions, you're exploiting other natural resources.
Absolutely. In fact, the ethanol distilleries are marked as red zone by the Central Pollution Certificate, Board of Certificate, which is the central government agency.
Yeah.
These are red zones. These are heavily polluting industries. For corn, ethanol takes 4,500 liters of water. And for rice, it takes 10,500 liters of water. Don't we have a water shortage in Delhi, in Gurugram, in Noida, in Bangalore, in Pune, in Mumbai? And Gadkari sir says that when we talk about this, we are anti-national. The only business that's going on here, and I'm saying this with responsibility, is Gadkari sir's Beta Badhao Yojana. Beta Badhao Yojana. After the pressure from Team Bharat and all of us, Gadkari sir has admitted that both his sons are in the ethanol business. His turnover is 100 crores a year. He calls it small change. 100 crores a year. This is conflict of interest. Shri Nitin Gadkari ji's kids are in the ethanol business. Their turnover is 100 crores a year. According to him, I haven't seen his reports, could be more. And growing. And this is conflict of interest, and he's driving the policy.
It seems like ethanol is here to stay. Ethanol is here to stay.
And this is unethical. It is wrong. It is immoral, and even bordering on illegality.
So more like unethical 20, not ethanol 20. I have two more questions for you, Tehseen. You see, let's come back to the road. Let's come back to the problems that the users are essentially facing, and that problem of choice that we wanted to come and assess. Automobile manufacturers, SIAM, many of those countries, the ARAI, they've put out these reports, which you say are not in the public domain, which is why nobody can actually come out and cross-question them. They say the mileage drop is about 3 to 4%, but you've got so many of those, influencers. And right on the other side of this break, we are going to be joined by some of those influencers, which will tell us that the actual on-road mileage drop is much higher than that. But do we look at the political timing of all of this as well? And do you think there is going to be a choice at the petrol pumps in the days to come?
1 second. First of all, the mileage is, they say, between 6% to 12%. But this is in a controlled environment. Professional drivers in a controlled environment, they look at the testing. Look at your Delhi roads, your Gurgaon roads, your Noida roads, your Pune roads, your Bangalore roads. Here, the average, the real world average drops is much more further.
Yeah.
Now, please understand, and I'd like your viewers to understand, buying a vehicle is the second most expensive thing an Indian buys. Second most expensive thing. And, even if it's a bike, you talk to your family members, you talk to your friends, most people, you go to 4 or 5 showrooms, you check out the bikes. The average is very, very important. Who the hell gave Nitin Gadkari ji and Hardeep Puri ji the right to experiment with our vehicles without our consent? Are we their lab rats? If they want to experiment in Nitin Gadkari ji's son's
that was another face-saver moment. Everybody had to come out and defend the government and say that, no, this is not an experiment, because that word had been used by the bigwigs as well.
Which then they lied, and then they forgot its live stream, so I got it out and I put it, and then they got. But there's a second thing that I want to say. Gadkari sir said, show one person who's facing any issue with regards to ethanol 20 bin. So we got 6 people today. We decided to go to his residence. We accepted his challenge very publicly. He's been avoiding us. In Gen Z slang, he's been ghosting us. He makes all these toxic statements. He's been extremely cringe, and he's ghosting us. But we said, okay, he could be Dululu. Let's get a Sululu. We've decided to go to his residence. He sent the police. The Delhi police detained me. I'm coming here after the Delhi police detained me. It's on my Twitter. They detained me.
Yeah.
Does the Delhi police run the ethanol policy? And I have nothing against the Delhi police. They're wonderful officers serving us. But he put police in the front. I actually took victims to him. Why doesn't he have a transparent debate with those who are victims of this in front of News9, in front of every other media channel and live stream it.
And that's a problem because today I was looking at a lot of other BJP leaders and MLAs and some of the ministers also here in the national capital that said the same thing again. Bring us one victim of E20 and we'll change our state.
I'm saying this on camera. I'm looking in this camera. Mr. Gadkari ji, please have me checked by ED. Please have a lie detector of test of mine publicly that I'm not funded by anybody.
Okay.
After having done that, sir, I will bring you thousands of victims, thousands. You choose the day, you choose the time, you choose the venue. My only one condition, let's live stream this and do this in front of the media. Let's do it, sir. You've challenged us. I'm ready for this challenge.
Okay. All right. I think we'll leave it at that. Your final 30 seconds, Tehseen, before we play out this reaction, because our reporters have been doing the job, God's work on the ground, right from Jaipur to Delhi, speaking to some of those petrol pump owners also, because it's actually a matter of how this is going to pinch your own pocket. If E20 is not as good as the XP hundreds and, the full regular petrol, why should you be paying top dollar for that same? So we have those reactions coming across. Very quickly, just the political timing, because would you call this policy correction in the face of, the elections that are right around the corner as well?
I don't know what the government is thinking because nobody knows what this government is thinking. But the fact of the matter is the common citizen of India is suffering.
Yeah.
We've taken to the streets. I don't care about what Aam Aadmi Party or Congress is doing. Our movement is a non-political movement. It is the voice of the common man. And we are going to fight Nitin Gadkari ji and Hardeep Puri ji. Our vehicles are not their babu's father's property to experiment with. They did not take our consent. This is a non-consensual relation they have put us in. They are acting extremely toxic with us. And I'll tell you something that Hardeep Puri ji said. I'll take a minute more. I'm sorry. I'm going to take this.
No, that's
Hardeep
okay.
Puri sir says, arrogantly, even ethanol is in formula vehicles. Sir, with respect to you, sir, I don't know if your babus who briefed you were high on the fumes of ethanol that they decided to brief you. In a formula race, sir, there's a pit. There are hundreds of mechanics per team.
Yeah.
In the middle of the race, when you go into pit, your engine is serviced, overhauled, parts are changed. After a race, the engine is overhauled. After 8 races, the engine is changed of a car.
Yeah.
Can a common
For a
citizen
penalty though, the engine is changed, but it happens for a penalty. You need to start at the back of the grid.
No. That's during the race. But I'm saying after 8 races, the company will change the race.
Yeah.
Can a common man do this? Can a common man do they have the mechanics in a pit out here? And do you have the infrastructure here to ride the car in like a formula or a bike like a formula? What the hell are these guys talking?
All right then. I think we're going to leave it at that. Tehseen, many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us here and to our viewers at News9. We're going to keep this conversation going, and it seems like the government may be mulling, but sooner or later we might have more options and choices at the petrol pumps. Listen in to some of those tic-tacs from all those petrol pump owners, and on the other side we've got automotive content creators and influencers and auto experts.
तो आज हम बात कर रहे हैं E20 पेट्रोल की। E20 पेट्रोल के साथ में लोगों की समस्याएं बढ़ रही हैं, लोगों की गाड़ियों में जो है समस्याएं आ रही, मिसिंग कर रही हैं, एवरेज कम हो रहा है। उसके बाद अब सरकार एक फैसले पर विचार कर रही है कि E20 के साथ में जो नॉर्मल पेट्रोल है वो भी दिया जाए। उसके लिए क्या तैयारियां की जा रही है, इसके लिए जो है पूरी तरीके से फीडबैक जो है लिया जा रहा है। मेरे साथ राजधानी जयपुर में जो है पेट्रोल पंप के ओनर हैं, इनसे जानते हैं। सर, जो आपके ये पेट्रोल पंप है, इसमें अगर तैयारियां की जाए और एक बार नॉर्मल पेट्रोल पंप जो दिया जाए नॉर्मल पेट्रोल, उसके लिए अलग से तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी, अलग से पंप लगाया जाएगा, अलग से स्टोरेज किया जाएगा। क्या तैयारियां आपके पास हैं सर ऐसी पूरी?
सर, हमारे यहाँ कंपनी आराम से ये काम कर सकती है। जयपुर का तकरीबन सबसे बड़ा आउटलेट है और जयपुर के काफ़ी आउटलेट्स पे इतनी जगह होती है कि एक एडिशनल टैंक लगा के, एडिशनल यूनिट लगा के कस्टमर को दिया जा सके। कस्टमर के हितों में हम लोगों को सोचना पड़ेगा। कस्टमर जो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता अपनी गाड़ी चेंज करने का, या जिसको बहुत फ्रीक्वेंट प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, वो 2-4 रुपये एक्स्ट्रा दे के भी वो ख़रीदना चाहेगा, तो हमको उसको ये नॉर्मल पेट्रोल अवेलेबल करवाना चाहिए।
सर, क्या रिएक्शन आ रहे हैं अभी तक 1 से जो है 10 तारीख तक? आज जो है 10 तारीख हो चुकी है, उसको इस बीच में लोग E20 भरा रहे हैं, तो क्या रिएक्शन आपके पास आ रहे हैं? कुछ जो है शिकायतें आ रही हैं आपके पास?
सर, E20 आते तो काफ़ी टाइम हो गया है, लोगों के धीरे धीरे ये चीज़ अभी समझ में आ रही है। जैसे जैसे उन्होंने यूज़ ज़्यादा कर रहे हैं, उनकी गाड़ियों में दिक्कत बढ़ रही है। और अब जैसे बारिश का टाइम सामने आ रहा है, तो बारिश के टाइम में ख़ास तौर से 2 व्हीलर्स में बहुत ज़्यादा शिकायत आती है। लास्ट ईयर भी हम लोगों के यहाँ बहुत शिकायत आई थी, क्योंकि ये मॉइस्चर से नमी एब्जॉर्ब करके पेट्रोल और इथेनॉल काफ़ी बार फट जाता है, जो कि कस्टमर को ऐसा लगता है कि पेट्रोल पंप वाले ने हो सकता है पानी मिला दिया, जबकि पेट्रोल में कोई भी पानी नहीं मिला सकता है। ये फटने की वजह से दोनों अलग अलग हो जाते हैं और कस्टमर की गाड़ी ख़राब होती है, बंद हो जाती है।
All right, then the conversation continues with Nareen Sharma, founder and editor, Steerlock. Many thanks for taking on the time. and Rohit Iyer, automotive content creator. You know him better on Instagram and social media platforms, as Rohit Iyer explains. Rohit, what's your stand over here? You see, let's begin with the biggest concerns that we're dealing with. E20, is it actually damaging those engines? Just like I was having a conversation with Tehseen, he says the problem is not the E20. We have E10 compliant vehicles, and maybe you can stretch that and take that to E20. But to forcefully guzzle down E45, maybe E85, talk about all of that, why are our engines being forced to carry on this experiment for which we're essentially not prepared?
You know what? First of all, thank you so much for having me here. And that entire segment with Tehseen, I was listening to it as well right now. And I think Tehseen had it pretty much spot on in entirety about the entire E20 policy and what's actually happening here in India. Now, you know, the government and many of the auto manufacturers have actually come out recently and even said that E20 fuel is not damaging engines. But, you know, that is very debatable. First of all, there's a lot of cars in India, which even Tehseen pointed out to, about 80% of the vehicles currently in India. That contributes, I mean, those are the vehicles that were manufactured pre-2023. When we're talking about vehicles manufactured post-2023, most of them are E20 compliant. In fact, I personally drive a Honda City. It's a 2023 Honda City. But regardless, Honda is one brand that has been E20 compliant since, I believe, 2009. But all the other vehicles, which is 80% of the market today, those are not E20 compatible.
Yeah.
And it's not just about whether E20 fuel is damaging engines, because all of these auto manufacturers and even the government, they're coming out and mentioning that it's not damaging engines, but it's the fuel systems, the rubber parts and the other parts within the fuel system that are getting damaged.
And maybe
It
that
completely
corrosion doesn't
depends-
hurt you right at the outset, but over a long term, compliance and compatibility is something that one will have to take a look at.
Exactly. That's one massive thing. And I'll tell you another point. Now, let's give the government the benefit of the doubt that it's not E20 exactly which is causing the damage, but it's contaminated fuel that's causing the damage. Now, my next question. I mean, you're the Ministry of Petroleum, you're the government of India. If fuel tampering is a massive problem that's going on in India, and if adding E20 to that fuel is only 20% ethanol is only making it worse, then shouldn't some things be done to ensure that the consumers, the average citizens that are paying all of these taxes, road taxes, cars on taxes, GST on that, income taxes, when we're paying so many taxes throughout the
Look at what
time,
happens in Brazil. If you opt for an ethanol blended petrol, there's a lot of tax that you end up saving on that particular point. There's a lot of subsidy on that particular petrol. Mr. Sharma, what's your opinion here? A car that is standing still for a very long time, there's another angle, because you see faulty petrol and petrol tampering and what happens with this contaminated fuel. In a standing E20 compliant car where there's a lot of E20 fuel that's inside this standstill car, the car that's been stationary for a couple of days, I think the oil absorbs a lot of moisture as well, and that moisture can then lead to other kinds of contamination. I mean, there are various levels and layers of this scientific problem that you're dealing with.
Absolutely. There are many reports that have suggested separation happening if the car is stagnant for a long time. Apart from that, as Rohit mentioned, as even Tehseen was talking, I want to make a point which is very, very elementary. Why give a fuel, which happens to be E20 here, when 80% of the roads, of the vehicles plying on the roads are not compliant? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? That is point one. Second is, of course, this point also was mentioned earlier, that there's a lot of adulteration. See, we have not finished with grappling of the problem of adulteration of fuel, especially petrol. And this varies from region to region. Of course, in tier 1 cities, you'll have better quality of petrol because many of the pumps petrol pumps are managed by the company themselves. So the level is less, the adulteration level is less. But as you go in remote areas, on highways, the level of adulteration is very high. We still have not finished grappling with those problems, where you have another additional problems. With this kind of fuel, which is not compatible to most of the vehicles flying. So the result is going to be catastrophic, and the level of problems will vary from region to region across the country.
And the maintenance and the mechanic charges, I mean, they're going to be a mammoth of a bill to deal with. So essentially, the summary of what we've been discussing with Tehseen, with the two of you, and again, many thanks for taking up the time, because you have a massive clout on your respective platforms, and the word is going to get out to the right people. You see, Rohit, I think the problem is that in this scenario, the policy came later, the fuel arrived earlier, and there was rapid rollout, and the idea was a one shoe fits all, which is usually not the right way to implement something that's new and for a larger multitude.
In fact, I'll add a couple of things here. Now, we're all common citizens of India, and we've witnessed a lot of government projects and how much time they usually take, right?
Yeah.
Now, Niti Aayog, as Tehseen pointed out earlier today, stated that India will only be prepared for the level of ethanol blending we're at today, E20, by 2030. In fact, even as per the government deadlines set for this project, it wasn't supposed to happen till much later. Like the timelines set were close to around 2030.
Yeah.
I mean, for the first time, we're also coming across a government-led initiative which has happened before timelines, right? Because usually they don't take.
So you're essentially saying this is too good to be true because it's happened 4 years in advance.
Too good to be true, depending on who the beneficiary is. Like, I'm not saying it's too good to be true for us. It depends on who the benefits are going to, because it's happened very, very fast. But having said that, there are understandable benefits that, the government is advocating, which is that it helps our forex. But even then, Tehseen had put up a very good point. 20% of a benefit on something that is contributing 20% of our forex, and for all of that, so much mehnat. Is it really worth the effort? And see, the idea is it's great for the country, I guess, in the long run. Even 20% savings on 20% of our forex bill in the long term is something that is needed, especially when the rupee is falling against the dollar as much as it is today. And when you think about it, let's say that, fine, all the consumers today, we put up with the 5 to 10% loss in fuel efficiency, because at the end of the day, if our currency stays stronger, we benefit in a lot of other things. A lot of our technology, for example, is imported. A lot of things that come into India are imported. So if we can save maybe on the forex in the long term, maybe giving up on 5 to 10% fuel efficiency is a trade-off which we can make in the long run.
I understand.
Happening so fast without being given a choice is what the problem is, and the very fact that this is a democracy. Now, even in Brazil, there are options. You can choose E10, you can choose E0, or you can choose E20 if you really want to go ahead with it.
And the rollout was phased across 5 different decades. So you have a lot of those compliant cars that are plying on the roads. That's the biggest plus point when it comes to Brazil. So, it's like comparing chalk and cheese. These are two different things, apples and oranges. To cite a case study is a different thing, but to constantly compare it is a completely different one at that point. Credible points that you've made over here, Rohit. Mr. Sharma, you see, let's just say you drive to a petrol pump tomorrow. Would you support ethanol blending or an ethanol fuel pump if you had a choice at the pump? If this ethanol version was a little more cheaper than the costlier regular fuel, would that be okay in the future?
Only if my vehicle is compliant to the percentages of blending offered.
Of course.
Only then.
Given that your vehicle is compliant.
Yes, of course, I would be, I would choose to fill that petrol. Secondly, I was actually going to come to that point that you made, that there should be some kind of, incentive given, so that people will opt for that kind of petrol. There has to be some incentive. You can't
So let me ask you this, sir. Sir, what should the government's next step be? Because it seems like reports and sources are telling us that they are rethinking, they are mulling of giving this option of a rollback of this one shoe fits all kind of an approach. What should the next step be? Should it be to maintain the current policy? Should it be to improve the communication? Should it be to reduce the prices or indirectly give incentive or restore customer choice and options at the petrol pumps? What should be the next move?
2 things should be made, should be rolled out. One is give choices, have the E10 blending also available, all right, and incentivize E20. See, there are many people who don't know about E20 as much.
Yeah.
despite they having new vehicles. So incentivize them, and these incentives will prompt people to opt for newer vehicles also. See, this thing is this can roll out in a very smooth way.
Okay.
India is the only country who is mandating E20 petrol. No other country in the world is.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
those are developed countries who have better roads, better traffic infrastructure, better traffic management. We are still grappling with those problems. Please understand that.
All right then, gentlemen, I think we're going to leave it at that point. Final 30 seconds, Rohit. Your message to your own viewers, to our viewers, to everybody out there who's grappling with the E20 debate at the moment. And then we'll wrap this up.
Or in fact, I just want to add another point as well before we sign off. It's that, a lot of us are considering that, the E20 is going to help us with our dependence on foreign imports. But again, as it was pointed out earlier in our show, we're having to import a lot of the corn, the maize right now to match the ethanol production. And with a push towards EV, because EVs are the other alternative, we're also importing a lot of the battery components for that from China. So maybe is it just one import cut that we're canceling imports from one end, but contributing it to the other side? So that's something that has to be considered as well. Something to all the audience right now is that, at this point in time, as consumers, we don't really have a choice. Petrol and diesel across the next 5 to 10 years, it does not seem to be having the most positive landscape in India. Nitin Gadkari has also mentioned it time and again, particularly for diesel, that if you're a diesel driver, the future is not good for you. Switch towards EV. The future is electric vehicles right now in India. The government is promoting that quite a bit as well. And until and unless we somehow get a choice in the future, it's not looking too good for petrol owners. I, being a petrol owner, it is sad. There's a lot of people that are passionate about petrol cars and, those engines.
I'll tell you about my plight before we wrap this up. Last night I was getting fuel filled. I jumped out to ask and, sort of probe what's happening at these petrol pumps. Do they have the regular fuel? What's happening? And then I open my gas can and I see a big red cross which says no E20. And, look at my plight. I'm here trying to ask the gentleman, are you lying to me? Are you for sure telling me that you don't have E20? Those are some things that, the entire common multitude is having to go through. So, you see, right now the debate over E20 is not really about whether ethanol is good or bad. It's about how we manage a transition that affects millions of our everyday motorists. Cleaner fuel, energy security, farmers' welfare, these are all important goals, but so are consumer confidence and the informed choices. So let's hope that good sense prevails. Many thanks, Mr. Sharma. Many thanks, Rohit, for taking out the time and speaking to us here on News9. We're going to slip into a very quick commercial breather here. On the other side, we've got a very interesting story because all of us use artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence is also making those digital scams even more dangerous. With a very credible voice, we're going to decode this bust that happened in Jhansi, where AI-led matrimonial scam was adrift. It duped middle-aged men with lakhs of rupees. Don't go anywhere. We're going to decode that right on the other side.